Hi, I'm Rick Dior, and that was a tune called The Downbeat Blues from a great book by Tom Morgan, and it's called The Jazz Drummer's Reading Workbook. This is a book I've been using for many, many years in my teaching at the college as well as privately. So it's a book about reading figures, not just big band, but all kinds of figures. So learning how to read music is a very important part of becoming a professional musician. So this is a book that I love. I love it so much that I'm going to dedicate a whole series to it. And I don't know Mr. Morgan, but I really love his book. So hopefully he won't mind me doing a series. I can't put the charts on the screen. That is a copyright infringement. And I'm always very mindful of that since I have a lot of books of my own. And it's illegal for people to put your books on the screen. Just buy it. This book is not expensive. It's a great deal, and it's, like I said, it's one of the best books that you can buy if you want to learn how to read in the jazz genre. Well, all genres, but this book is dedicated to the jazz style, swing, basically. So it's divided up very logically into sections, and it comes with 2 CDs that are very expensive. The only thing that I don't necessarily love about the CDs is each track only goes through one time. So what you can do is loop it. You can do that on a digital workstation. You can, make your own little CD from it, or you can buy a looping CD player. I have a Tascam CD VT2 that I've had for a long time. It's really like a transcription machine, basically, but I've used that to practice and with my students. So I'm not sure if it's made anymore, but I'm sure you could find it used. They made a lot of them, and it sold really well. So it's got a feature there where you can loop these things over and over again. So the first section here is called Downbeat Figures. And the book goes into great detail about how to catch them. I won't cover all the basic stuff because you're going to buy the book, and after you buy the book, you'll see that. But I will talk about long and short sounds for sure in every single one of these videos, and as well as setups and also sort of concepts for doing this, from very simple to very complex. So like I said, the first section starts on page 5, really, and that's called Downbeat Figures. And they're figures right on the downbeat. So 1, 2, 3, 4 could be on 1, could be on 2, could be on 3, could be on 4. But there's no upbeats yet. That'll come later. And then eventually he mixes it all up, which is a very, like I said, logical way of doing this. So we'll go to Etude number 1 now. One of the great things about this book as well is that he plays the track with the band. It's only a trio. And on that last one, you heard a big band. But on these short little demos here, there's just basically a trio. And the piano player is playing the hits. And so there's short sounds and long sounds. And there's these 3 etudes on page 7, and that's what we're going to start with. So before we do that, let's quickly talk about the drums, very quickly, because I know you're going to ask questions. This is that same Yamaha Jazz Kit, Maple Custom, that I did a long video on recently. Have it set up for a number of sessions. While I have it set up, I'm going to do this series. I'll do it in a couple days. And then I'll pack them back up and set up some other drums. So that's what these are: 18-inch bass drum, 10 by 8, 12 by 8, 14 by 14 toms. This is a 5 by 14-inch snare drum. Cymbals, old K 18, crash ride, old K 21-inch. This is an Artisan, Sabian Artisan, Vault 16. This is my favorite flat ride, Bosphorus Turk 24-inch, and some Sabian Artisan hi-hats, so mixed and matched cymbals. I'm using these sort of on purpose so you can hear the different sounds. Normally for big band, I'd use a big giant 24-inch Chinese cymbal that you've seen me use lots. But for this, it's not all big band. There's going to be trio stuff. So short and long sounds, we've talked about this before. Sorry, I have a little bit of a cold once again. I'm losing my voice, so just deal with it. But the short sounds on the drum set are as follows: choked hi-hat, choked cymbal, snare drum, rim shot, bass drum, depending how it's tuned, okay? Toms, depending how big they are. And as they get bigger, they venture into long sounds. Anything with some punch to it, okay? But your mainstay, basically, as a jazz drummer, is going to be that snare drum, all right? So that is a pretty short sound. Now, long sounds, of course, cymbal crashes, rolls on a snare drum, long-lasting hi-hat notes. Hi-hat's one of the most expressive instruments on the kit that could be short or long, and cymbals. Sometimes, but not always, backed up by the bass drum, okay? Now, there's something that I teach students that goes beyond that, and that's called shading. So you could play a long sound and a short sound together, like this. But depending on your dynamic control, which one's louder, it's going to sound shorter. So if you do this, that snare drum, bass drum, and cymbal, and I'm playing the cymbal hard, that's going to be more of a long sound. If I do this, and I'm not crashing that cymbal with the shoulder of the stick, then that is a short sound, okay? So there's a lot of different things you can do for short and long sounds. See if you can capture those here. So that was a combination of short and long sounds. So I did some rim shots, some bass drum hits with cymbal, some long, loud cymbal notes with the shoulder, some short ones with the snare drum playing louder, and then finally the hi-hat chokes. All ways of expressing yourself. Remember, we're not blowing into the instrument. We don't have a pedal where we can hold down. Well, really, we do with the hi-hat, but not like a piano or a vibraphone, things like that. Okay, so we've got to use the different drums as our long and short sounds. So let's look at this first downbeat etude. The way I teach these is I'll have the student play time, and when we say play time, we're playing jazz time, very simple. So I'm feathering the bass drum on all four very lightly, not this, but this. Should be felt, but not really heard, okay? So you miss it when it's not there. And then the ride cymbal is playing, you know. And the snare drum's comping along, not too much, not too loud, except when we get to these hits. Now you see, I'll show just a little of this on the screen, not all of it. You see these marcato notes, those rooftop accents, that's like a rim shot, okay? So that is the loudest type of accent that you will play. And then it has fill. When you see fill, you're filling up that bar before the note that you're going to hit, okay? So he's telling you to do that. A lot of times charts won't have anything that says that. You have to basically navigate through that and know when it's supposed to happen. But he does that here. And he gives you some sample fills a few pages previous to page 7 here. So the first way I have students play it is just with the snare drum. So we'll play this track. I'll go back to it. And this track is track 24, and it's without the drums. Start with the snare drum, nothing else. We're not even crashing cymbals. when I'm playing the longer sounds, which are the dotted half notes or the tied notes, I am using the shoulder of the stick on the edge of the cymbal. It's definitely something you want to do and learn how to do. So I'm not moving around, not doing much. That's the simplest, basic way to do it. Next, we're going to put a bass drum note in front of each one of these hits. So the first two bars would be. So it could either be on the 8th note, Buddha, or right on 1. One of those two, okay? Good, so let's play that for you. So hopefully you see that and you heard that where the bass drum now is setting up that figure. So all of a sudden we're setting them up. We're playing something before the figure to help the band out so they hear something there, okay? And you also saw me for the first time play some other cymbals for the big long crashes, the long notes there. The next way we do it is we set up the figures with short little fills, as it says here, okay? A couple of them are a bar long, a couple of them are 2 beats or 3 beats long. So we do that, and I'll play that for you. Play whatever you want, triplets, sixteenths, but basically clean and set that band up, that group up. Now that's heavy, so if you're playing with a piano trio, unless you want it to sound big bandy, you don't want to do that. You want to play more of the second way I played it, like this. So you're not going to play these big giant fills with a soft piano trio. So that's more of a big band way of catching it. Finally, I have the student solo over this, which is tricky and a little bit weird with something this slow as well as so spacious. But it's a great exercise. So those are the 4 ways that I do it. Number 1, just catch it on the snare drum. Number 2, set it up with the bass drum. Number 3, start doing the short fills for soloing. So I'll solo a little over this. So it's not playing time, it's just soloing. Play whatever you want. So you can play as complex or as simple as you want. You don't have to catch all the figures. Definitely not. You could play through them, but catch a few of them. So that is the concept, all right, that we're using here, these 4 different ways. So let's go to this next one, number 26, which is a little bit faster. Now we'll get a little more aggressive with it. So same track, track 26. Now we'll do one in 3/4, and this is track 28. And now we'll set up the figures on this one a little more for you, kind of a quasi-time solo thing. Finally, I'll go backwards, I'll play it really, really simple for you and light. A lot of my students find the 3/4 ones really, really difficult. And next there's that Downbeat Blues, which I played for you already. Okay, so that's the first chapter, or the first part of this video series, the Downbeat Etudes. And that's what you want to do. You want to set these little kind of plans for yourself where you're doing it each one of those 4 ways. Once again, simple, just with the snare drum. Second, set it up just with the bass drum, not moving around too much. Third time, you're setting it up with fills. Do it light and then do it heavy, like a big band version. And finally, you're soloing over it. So hopefully you enjoyed this, and we'll be back for the next part of this series, which will be upbeat figures and upbeat etudes. Thanks.